What's going on, everyone, man? It's your boy Zooko here, and today I'm here to bring to you guys the most important video in order to help out everyone, no matter what elo you're playing in. This is going to be extremely important for you to watch throughout its entirety. So why are we making this video? Number one, the meta has changed, and triple support is a very, very good team comp. It's one of the most effective. There are ways to beat it though, and everyone's just crying over power just because they don't want to hop off their mains, but there are already ways to beat this. The biggest thing that you guys have to understand is that since there is no role queue, it's actually much easier for us to counter certain team comps. Let's talk about the state of this game, because whenever I make a video, I always like to make it revolutionary. How is it that we make a team comp that is always going to survive the future of this game? Or at least make it as future-proof as long as possible. Well, number one, what's the most effective way to play this game right now? Dive. And what are you diving exactly? Who are you targeting? You're targeting strategists. The fact that triple strategist is becoming so effective is kind of funny, because right now, the way to win in this game is to simply dive the self-sustain. How is it that you make sure that you can climb going against divers? Well, number one, you need to have a backline that is, number one, extremely resilient to dive, or no backline at all. That's literally the only ways to stop these divers. You simply fight with your tank directly and force them to have to target two people at once, which means you stick close to your tank, or you simply are always diving the other enemy team, so there's nothing for them to dive. This is how you stop divers. You either have no backline or have a backline that is extremely resilient to divers. I'm going to have all of this inside of my team comp, so that's one thing that you have to take care of. And now let's talk about the next thing, which is going to be triple strategists. It's one of the most effective things in this game because of the fact that the self-sustain is disgusting and the defensive ultimates are disgusting. This team comp is also going to be able to stop the triple defensive ultimate from working. So everything that you're seeing that is working right now in season 1, this is an anti-meta that is also a meta, because you can play outside of this and dominate this game in the ways that have always been working in every single game of any single type that is going against another human, which is damage. The first thing that you're going to need is my boy Hawkeye. Now, if they ban Hawkeye, we're going to talk about hero bans as well. If they ban Hawkeye, you can go Black Widow. If they ban Hawkeye and Black Widow, you can go Hela. If they ban all of them, then just go Bucky. Why Hawkeye? Well, number one, Hawkeye is a one-shot character. He does the most amount of damage in this game to a target off of a critical hit, which is very disgusting. This damage output allows for you to insta-kill targets even if they are in defensive ultimates, depending on what their health is, which means with skill, you can straight up say, forget your ultimate, I do not care. Now, for ultimates where you have shields that are also being applied to the characters, then it doesn't work, unless you break the scaling in this game. Let's talk about the weaknesses of Hawkeye, because this is very important. Hawkeye is extremely easy to die, which is one of his biggest weaknesses, is that he doesn't really have a great getaway tool. He has a get off of me tool, but it's on an extremely absurdly long cooldown for no apparent reason. This is also a good damage combo. If someone dives, you can melee and then do your left shift. And that's a very good combo to get people off of you, then try and follow up with the headshot or a body shot or whatever, and that's pretty good, but it's not enough. So we have to fix that in his team comp in order to make him shine, and it has to be scary enough and easy enough to do that it's effective. So with that being said, we're going to immediately add in Penny Parker. Penny Parker fixes all of the issues of Hawkeye, and the biggest weakness of Hawkeye is if you can't actually get a critical hit, then you just need to hop off the character. She makes it to where she can CC a target every single 3 seconds in this game. That means you can get a guaranteed critical hit on every single target in this game every single 3 seconds. You can exclusively be the worst Hawkeye and play only off of her CC, which is really, really good. But on top of this, her left shift is the best way to stop divers. It's a 400 damage burst to anyone that steps into it, and if all targets step into it, then it'll kind of spread it out a little bit. But you want to place your left shift not only for defense with Penny, but Penny can place her left shift strategically. I'm about to blow you guys' minds here. She's an attack character, which means you can attack with your team and use your left shift for your strategist or your actual DPS characters that are not good at getting away from divers to sit in. So if they are dove, now they actually have to deal with the left shift, or before they can dive a Hawkeye or the strategists that don't have the ability to simply protect themselves from these divers, they now have to take care of the left shift first. If they're just not very good dive DPS characters as enemies, they're just going to simply dive and then get killed every single time. But you can also use this so that way the Hawkeye sits in it with the strategist, so that way they're always protected by this. Penny does a 160 damage burst easily every single time that she hits you with that CC. She has extremely disgusting burst damage. She can kill a Cloak and Dagger while she's in her ultimate, her even going through her left shift, which is really good, especially if she's shooting at her at the same time. And all the Hawkeye has to do is just body shot her. So the Cloak and Dagger ultimate doesn't work against that. The Luna Snow's ultimate doesn't work against that. She's very good at luring players extremely fast just by having her left shift up, which means they have to take care of the left shift or their defensive ultimate just simply doesn't work. Or you can pop her left shift inside of their defensive ultimate and then force them to not have to worry about that. This is basically, okay guys, we have to destroy this thing or it's going to stop the whole game plan of the triple support. This is also a very easy way to dive strategist. You can actually dive with Penny Parker and dive onto a target and be vertical and then dive down and then pop your left shift, which is now going to do passive damage while you're doing your actual guaranteed damage. And again, her arachno mines do 100 damage every single time you throw them on the ground. They have a 4-second recharge. That 4-second recharge is important because her CC is on a 3-second cooldown, which means every single 4 seconds you will be able to CC into a 100 damage burst that is guaranteed. And if you shoot twice, that is now 160 damage, which is disgusting. On top of this, her ultimate is very good at moving people outside of defensive ultimates, but it's also good at putting a bunch of damage in those defensive ultimates that is going to stack. And if you proc her ultimate inside of the same vicinity of her left shift, as she starts moving, she procs these webs as she's moving, which allows for her left shift to now travel with her ultimate, and the first thing that you touch is going to take that 400 damage burst instantly. And if she drops an arachnomine, that is now a 500 damage burst, which is really, really good. That's Penny's ultimate. On top of that, you can also just use her ultimate like a nuke. You can place it down all in one spot. You can use it defensively and say, okay, even if the team's not here, I'm going to place all 15 of these mines in a particular spot, put my left shift around the area so they can't see it, and then the moment that they come through the area, every one of them dies. Storm. Storm is going to allow for you guys to, number one, give the Hawkeye an 8% damage boost. Storm does 12% damage boost to herself whenever she's sitting in her damage boost mode passively. Whenever she procs her E, which gives her basically a damage increase, it goes from 12 to 30. For her teammates, the passive version, it's an 8% damage boost, but whenever she goes into her E, it's now a 12% damage boost. So think Mantis. Your teammates get 8 to 12, and she gets 12 to 30. Allows for Hawkeye and Penny to go even more crazy, and everyone else in her team. Her damage boost is actually a sphere, which means the more grounded she is, the more teammates she can actually catch. So she actually, even though she can get aerial, you don't want to play her in the air. You kind of want to play her on the ground behind your tanks or behind your targets or with your DPS or with your strategists or a little bit higher above them, so you bring a little bit of a layer or just LOS. Because the higher up that you get, your sphere, basically you're now touching them with the bottom circle, which is a smaller area, so less of your teammates actually get the damage boost. So you don't want to be high up with this character, and she actually is really easy to pick off because her movement speed isn't that crazy. Storm wins every single 1v1 if you hit all of your shots, which is E, right click, left click, they're dead. If they're 250, they're dead. If they're 275, one more left click, they're dead. If they're 300, one more other left click, and they are dead. But really and truly, your passive is probably going to hit them again, so it's still going to be left click, right click, left click, and then they're dead. If you're within your E, everything in the game that is 300 and under, dead. Now her ultimate is extremely good because you can't kill her in it. She can't be CC'd. She's very disgusting, and she gets a bunch of burst healing, which is good. And her damage output in that mode is also really, really good, but it's not good for defensive ultimates unless we break the scaling. So you every single 15 seconds, you can give him a 12% damage boost. Passively 8. Moving on. Now we're going to put in Mantis in this. Why Mantis? The damage boost. She cannot survive divers. unless you come off of the ability. So let me explain how you need to play Mantis if you're going to play her. You need to save your sedation for divers because you want to make every single diver be tilted. They need to dive and you need to sedate them, and you need to damage boost the Hawkeye so that, or the Storm or yourself, and kill them every single time. This allows for the Hawkeye to not have to worry about getting the critical hit, but he can have 3.5 seconds to get that fully charged critical hit. If you guys watch my Mantis video, then you're also going to know that you can actually get over 295 damage combos immediately from her just by herself alone. So you pair that with the Hawkeye, and now you can instant melt tanks, and you pair that with the Storm's damage. Now you guys have the ability to instant melt a Groot in less than a second, which is disgusting, off of one sedation. So this is basically free picks, whether they're in good positioning or bad positioning, but I would recommend saving it for that. Now let's talk about your life orbs. You only want to use your life orbs to keep your strategist alive or to damage boost your DPS, because if you don't, you're never going to have enough life orbs. Don't use this to heal. Use this to keep everyone damage boosted, because the damage matters, especially whenever you're going against triple supports. You need two characters to always be damage boosted, which means, again, Storm naturally has a 12% damage boost sitting in her damage mode, but the team gets an 8%, which means if Mantis damage boosts the Storm, she's now a 24% damage increase inside of her passive, which is disgusting. That 225 damage burst that we talked about, now that happens forever. So again, you don't want to waste your life orbs healing people. You want to always use it to make sure that Storm is always getting that 24% damage increase. This also allows for the Hawkeye to now be at a 20% damage increase from just the 8% from the Storm, and then a 12% from the Mantis. And if she goes into her E, he's now 24% damage increase, which is really, really good. His headshots are now extremely disgusting, even if you're in a defensive ultimate. One shot, headshot, whatever. But also now his body shot damage is becoming even more cracked. And now as well, if someone dives him, he can now just tap fire, then he can melee and then left shift, which is the little swipe boop, and then that is going to be enough damage to actually do enough to where you can easily kill divers without you having to be as accurate. So you're giving a huge skill pad to Hawkeye, making him very hard to pin down, and the Hawkeye wants to always be next to the penny or playing in her left shift. That is his positioning. The Storm kind of wants to do the same thing, but she's really trying to make sure she's always giving everyone the damage boost. That's basically the position of these characters. You don't have to be directly next to each other, just within the vicinity. On top of this, the CC that you get from Penny every single 3 seconds, the Storm can now stack this with the Hawkeye. Now you could just go for the body shot. This allows for these two to have extremely scary burst damage. And then the Mantis also has the ability to feed off of this as well. What else do you need in order to make this even more disgusting? Well, we have Cloak and Dagger. Number one, AoE healing. AoE healing is really important, especially whenever you need to apply the healing boost. The AoE means now you can heal everyone, which allows for you to build your ultimate extremely fast. And because this team comp is made for them to kind of be somewhat grouped up, but not too close to where some characters can just kind of like farm them, but close enough to where they can all always be within vicinity of each other. But the main reason why we have Cloak is because, number one, you need a defensive ultimate in this game. On top of this, Cloak and Dagger allows for you to apply a 20% damage increase taken to any enemy that is touched by her vulnerability. And it also blinds them, which means they can't see the Hawkeye, and they can't see the Storm, and they can't see the Penny, which means they can't see her throwing the traps, and they can't see her CCing them, which is disgusting because you're basically giving someone an Invisible Woman feel without you actually having to run Invisible Woman, and she can actually hit many people with this. But again, that 20% damage increase is not just a 20% damage increase by her, it's by everything, which means ultimates, characters, teammates, everything in this game is you're just simply a squishy now. Even if you're a tank, you are now a squishy. She can also do very good consistent damage as well. Now you take this and you pair the damage boosters of these two characters. This is now cracked, especially for the Storm. And because you can do up to a 24 here, right, with these two, this allows for Hawkeye to have a 24% damage increase by her proccing her E and her proccing that. And then that 24% damage increase is now a number that is increased from the base value by 24%. Now the enemy that takes that number that was increased by 24%, he's going to take 20% more damage from the 24% number. So you're basically taking a number, a base number, you're adding it by a percentage, and then you're taking that number and then you're now adding it by another 20%, which means you're just getting larger numbers that you're actually adding from, which now allows for you to go burr even on tanks. Now what's crazy about this is that Cloak and Dagger does damage with this as well. So if Cloak and Dagger is damage boosted or she's sitting inside of this, this actually is a really substantial damage boost for whenever she hits you with the actual vulnerability, the damage that it does, taking into account everything else that's going on. This allows for the Hawkeye to just fully charge a body shot and still insta-kill everything that is 300 and under. Now if they're 350, it doesn't work unless we take into our next pick. This is going to be Loki. Now, why Loki? Number one, Loki can copy her ultimate, so you can at least have 2 defensive ultimates right after each other. But Loki can actually become any character in his game and stay them for 30 seconds. Not just use their ultimate really quickly. No, you kind of want to play Loki a little bit smarter than that. You want to switch as the character, use their abilities, or do whatever you got to do. Wait till you're literally like half of a second left and then pop the ultimate, stay as the use the ultimate or whatever, and then stay as the character again for another 15 13 seconds, whatever it is, and then you want to go ahead and then now you're going to be back on your character. Why Loki? Well, number one, his damage is cracked. You can triple stack him and he allows for the game to feel 6v9, especially if you place him on high ground. He can make a team fight feel like it's 9v6. On top of this, he can discombobulate people, get them to focus other things. And again, you also have Penny Parker, who does this really well with their left shift, because if you don't focus your left shift, it's simply just going to stop every single Captain America. All of these characters, they have to stop this, or it's just going to be a lot of damage. So now you have the left shift to worry about, which is basically another character that you have to focus fire. And then you have 3 clones that you have to worry about. So now it feels like it's a 10v6. So this is very good. Now, why Loki as a character? Well, number one, he basically gives you a defensive ultimate every single 25 seconds with his left shift. And not only that, but people don't understand, but you can't die inside of his left shift. Think of this as a Baptiste ability. You simply can't kill people until you destroy the pylon. He is a free burst survival for every single burst ultimate in this game, which is very important. Cloak and Dagger is a great character for surviving burst ultimates in this game. He's also a very good character at surviving sustained ultimates with his left shift as well. So again, Loki has the ability to protect his team every single 25 seconds, which means you don't even have to really be a healer with this character. You just need to be timely with when you're proccing your left shift. Loki can switch to Cloak and Dagger and double down on defensive ultimate, but also get 2 debuffs before he actually goes back into himself, which is also good, which means you can actually damage stack this. I've tested this already. You can now make it to where a target takes 40% more damage, which is basically Luna Snow's ultimate. But this also means you can make it to where you can put 2 of these down at the exact same time and get everyone on the team instead of just maybe a few. This also allows for you to go right into your ultimate as well, and this also makes the Cloak and Dagger ultimate just do a crap ton of more damage. On top of actually being Cloak and Dagger damage mode, any target taking 40% more damage for 3.5 seconds is disgusting. So that's very, very good. Now the blinding, I believe, lasts for 1.5 seconds or something like that, but whatever. That's a good way to use him to get the damage debuff. The next way to use it is going to be to copy Storm. And this is the most effective way to use him because you can get 2 Storm ultimates. They're both ultimates that work really well together. And if you proc them at the exact same time, these ultimates allow for you guys to actually break the scaling and the healing output of every single defensive ultimate in this game. It does not matter because a lot of these defensive ultimates, you have to, number one, be in a position, or you have to follow a character, which means you're crap out of luck if you simply can't do that. So you're literally just going to die. So again, Luna, Invisible Woman, and Cloak and Dagger is another character where you have to be in her ultimate in order for you to actually get it. And she actually has to stack the lines of the healing in order for it to actually do that increased healing. Again, 12-30 and then 8-12 to the team. If you have 2 storms, these stack as well, which means now a storm can have a 12 naturally and then an 8 naturally from the other storm. So you have double storm, which means now they are basically 20% damage boosted all the time, just sitting in the their passive modes, sitting next to each other. This is very good. And when they both proc their E, this allows for them both to now go to 42% damage increase, which is basically an ultimate. That is disgusting damage output. And you have two of them doing this. This is very good. Now, you put in Mantis damage boost, and now they are 54% damage increase. Both of them, which is, again, cracked. Especially to say that she can right click, left click, which is basically enough damage now to actually insta melt everything in this game off of them two alone. And the passive damage from her E, actually just AoEing, is enough to actually melt everything. So now let's make this even more cracked. If the Storm has her ultimate, you proc your ultimate, and I'm going to give you a 12% damage increase. I'm going to proc my E, so now the Storm gets a 12% damage boost in her ultimate, while the Loki is also doing damage to everyone, hitting with the AoEs as well. This is extremely disgusting burst, even better than the Punisher's ultimate, by the way. So now, right after she finishes that, then the Loki says, okay, now I'm going to proc my ultimate, reset all of my stuff for me being a Storm, and then I want you to proc your E and you do the same thing. This completely breaks the whole defensive ultimate BS, because you have the Storm discombobulating everyone, and then you have the damage boost from the other one, and just everything is just dead, which is disgusting. And then again, your entire team is benefiting from a 12% damage boost. And especially if the Mantis damage boost is the Storm, while the other Storm is sitting there, she has a 24% damage increase in the ultimate that she's doing. This is disgusting. So you can give both of these to both of these guys, and you actually refill a life orb, so you can actually even do this even if you only have one left. So this is very disgusting between these two, which is why Loki is probably going to want to always do the Storm doubled up. Now, the Loki can also go ahead and go Hawkeye, because having two Hawkeyes for the one shots is going to be disgusting. And what you can do is you can proc your left shift before you go into Hawkeye, make it to where now you two can sit in the mode, have invulnerability, or they have to destroy the pylon before you can actually die, whatever it may be. And then it's GG's for the team. Two Hawkeyes is also cracked. There's a lot that you can do with this, but I wouldn't even recommend it, because I would rather you do the double Storm, because you can just let the Hawkeye eat and just make it to where these two characters are cracked. This is better for your overall team. Now, Loki is a character that can keep everyone alive pretty easily, give defensive abilities, has a defensive ultimate, he can have a damage boost ultimate, whatever it may be. This team comp is made to do everything on their own. And the good thing is, as long as you have some pieces of this, it's always going to perform. I've been running this with my homeboy, and we've been doing duos, we've been doing trios, just to see how good it feels, even if we just have some of the pieces. And as long as you have some of the pieces of this, it's still disgusting. Like, for example, these two characters alone, best duo in the game, because it's free kills. These two together, free kills. These two together, still free kills. These two together, easy free kills. These two together, easy kills. These three together, easy kills. These three together, easy kills. These two together, extremely easy to keep alive. These three together, extremely easy to keep alive. Again, you kind of get the idea. And then him with literally anybody in this team comp is going to be good. Maybe not the Penny, but all of these guys is the ones that you want to use them with. This team comp is future proof, it's bulletproof, it's made to stop triple strategists, it's made to stop divers, it's made to also play the LOS gameplay. This team is very good at diving, it's very good at holding, it's very good at attacking, it's very good at doing everything in this game, while also breaking the scaling of damage and healing output in this game, to where you never have to worry about who you're going against, no matter what map it is. It's disgusting. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It's your boy Zooko. Let me know if you guys agree, and if you don't agree, get good. We out of here. Peace.